Thank you for joining us today. My name is Samira Tilley, Marketing Manager at Assemble Systems. Our webinar today will cover how EllisDon uses Assemble.
Thanks, Samira. So to kick it off today, we're going to run through our quick agenda. So I will let our speakers today introduce themselves. Then we'll go through a couple of brief introductions of both Assemble and EllisDon. And then we're going to step through a project and let them tell you about their use case of Assemble and generally technology within a particular project they're working on. And we'll spend some time after that going through Q&A. So that said, just to briefly introduce myself, Tim Kelly, based in the Assemble Houston office. I have a degree from Texas A&M in construction science. After school, I spent time in commercial construction, both in pre-construction and in course of construction, focusing on VDC and technology. And then after that, shifted over to software full-time. And so now with Assemble Product Manager, helping guide our product into the use case that you're going to see today. So Omar, you want to introduce yourself?
Yep, thanks, Tim. My name is Omar Zuberi. I'm the Virtual Design and Construction Manager for Eastern Canada for EllisDon. Let's see, I started out in the States for 4 years in Los Angeles, and then I transferred up to Vancouver for 2 years, and then I've been here in Toronto area for another 4 years since then. So we're all around approximately 10 years of experience in the construction sector. I've been doing virtual design and construction for about 8 of those years.
I received master's in architecture in Russia, and during my school time I actually refused to use AutoCAD and 2D drafting software. I mostly used ArchiCAD at that time. When I moved to Canada to receive construction management training, I realized that I can combine 2 of my passions, which is 3D modeling and data management and construction, in the career of a BIM coordinator. So I've been doing that for the last 4 years, working for builders. And currently working on a mysterious project we'll be talking about today, and we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you guys, and just to kick it off, thank you so much for agreeing to share today. I know, as you mentioned, it's a little bit confidential, and you're going to have to avoid some things, but we appreciate you sharing your story. So that said, I'm going to go ahead and briefly introduce Assemble, and do that in a way of 5 key points that we like to talk about. So Assemble is a cloud-based solution, and that means that no software to install locally or any hardware requirements. So that means that as you add members to your project team within Assemble, it's a simple login to get access to models, drawings, point clouds, and other data. Within Assemble, you have an environment that allows you to both make adjustments to model data that you bring in from Revit, AutoCAD, CADWorks, etc. Additionally, you have the ability to layer other information on top of that through the use of Assemble properties. From there, you can use that information to group, sort, and filter project information and share that or connect to other systems. We have partners such as iSquareFoot, Procore, direct connections to Excel, Power BI, and other systems that allow you to utilize the information and push it out. Additionally, you have the ability to manage information across many versions of a model. So as things progress in your project and the model changes, you can manage and review those changes within Assemble. And then the analysis capability goes on and on and on. The idea of using any information or any set of data that's connected to the model gives you an unlimited ability to pivot that information based on those properties. So that's really the story of Assemble. And I'm going to let Omar jump in and talk a bit about EllisDon.
Thanks, Tim. So EllisDon, we've been around for about over 65 years. We're very heavy on the safety side. We, it's very important to everyone who makes it home to their family at the end of the day. We also, apparently our clients really like how we do business. They really like how nice we are and how good we are to work with. And you can quote me on that because our CEO has already told us that twice already. And we've been doing about $3.5 billion of annual business year over year. We like to put our fingers in every pie. and we try to be a full service shop, so to speak, all the way from the beginning of a project, pre-construction. We also do financing for projects. P3s are very big up here in Canada. I understand they're starting to make the segue over to the United States, and we've been doing those for a while. And as well, we've also started going into the facilities management side of things, which is, you know, after handover and the client needs someone to take care of what we built for them. And of course, insurance services. And throughout all of this, virtual construction services assists with all aspects. So pre-construction, construction operations, visualizations, and so on and so forth.
So I'm working on a project that is actually very exciting and very interesting because it's very complex. It has a lot of very complicated technology jammed into a small building. But unfortunately, as many pharmaceutical projects, it is covered by a veil of confidentiality, and unfortunately, I cannot show actual models of the building. But what I can share is some tips and tricks and some ways in which Assemble helps us to manage all the processes and make this project easier for our team. So first of all, process comes first. It's the most important part of the building, and actually if they could hang piping in the thin air, they would do that. But unfortunately they have to actually build that box that they don't really care about too much. And challenge number 2, tracking. Everything must be tracked from the very beginning, from design to manufacturing and throughout construction, and everything has its own IDs and all the tracking process. I don't even want to start on the quality control process. And of course, BIM helps a lot to manage all that. And challenge number 3, as you can imagine, the team is very large. It's an international team, and clients' headquarters are not at the same place as the construction site, and not all design teams are located in the same area. So it's a lot of coordination between different parties, and we've already learned that the client has experienced troubles with hardware connections and with software that they need to install, because they have very strict security protocols on their computers too. So going cloud-based is the best solution in this case, and it makes access management easier. It makes easier to convince people to use the models because they don't need to install anything, and it's the most simple solution in this case. Yeah,
and just to jump in really quick, you kind of talked your 3 key challenges. It sounds like with a process-minded owner, you mentioned, you know, this is different than a typical commercial project where maybe the facade is very important. The key feature here is the workings, the inner workings and the systems within the building. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
So when it comes to budget and organization of that, is that where you would say the focus is for this type of project?
Maximum amount of money is spent on the M&E inside the as cheaply as possible shell.
That's right, that's right. So I just wanted to point that out and kind of talk a little bit, just what you guys are going to go through here is talk about the process of how you're managing this information for an owner that is so process driven that like you said, there are things that are restricted and organized in a way. So this has to be pretty on point, and I think and commend you guys for organizing this in such a manner that actually meets the needs of the owner for something like this sort of project.
Yes, it's heavily like you said, it's heavy on the process. They have a process for everything, and you essentially need to follow it, and it tends to creep back up the stream essentially. So when we build something, they're going to start doing all their processing of their pharmaceutical stuff inside what we built. That being said, they have all kinds of documentation requirements dictating what we track during the build.
You may not know what you need to track, and so tracking absolutely everything is pretty key here.
Oh, 100%. One example that was given to me by one of our teams was Let's say, just before they flip the switch and start doing their commissioning, they find out that some steel that was put into some of the tubing that was installed at certain places inside the process was bad. They find out it was a bad batch. Then suddenly we need to go back and find, okay, well, this is the source material, and it was used to produce this batch of steel, and this batch of steel tubing was installed at this location, and this location. So we need to go to those specific locations and pull out those specific pipes in order to replace them. In the old way, it was, lots of binders, lots of folders, and you got to go through everything. Nowadays, at least, there's a search feature.
Yeah, and it can be traced down to the welder, down to delivery batch, down to every single small detail that could affect the quality of it. We have a pretty large quality control and commissioning teams working from the very beginning of the project. Returning back to the BIM scope and all the data that we have to manage internally. So essentially, we receive design models from consultants that are regularly updated. We joined the project before the construction started, a while before drawings were finalized. So we were able to make some comments and maybe help client to cut some costs on the shell. Schedule and cost allocation comes from our internal team. Fabrication models, man hours, and trade progress updates all come from trades, and all that massive amount of data has to be coordinated. First of all, as 3D coordination models, and second, for reporting purposes, because besides all the tracking, we also need to report regularly on the progress and on the status of each element. Because it's a critical project for the client. They've been planning it for a while. As you can imagine, there is a lot of work that's being done for this building to happen. So they want to make sure that it is on plan, it is on track, and everything goes according to what we planned. So as outputs, we're creating a 4D model. We are creating a 5D model, so basically resource-loaded model with all the actual information coming from site and earned value status. Actual versus planned visual comparison, 3 weeks look ahead, and we can do look ahead on the model as well. And quantity takeoff, for installed components. Source models come in Revit and AutoCAD Plan 3D, like many process projects do. It has a lot of diagrams for process, and it's actually a massive amount of documents and models. And initially, I was told that we will use Assemble for quantity takeoff to aid our estimating team. But actually, I started discovering that it has way more to offer, and the site team can benefit from using it greatly too. Because Navisworks is great, and all the 3D coordination that we do is great. But again, you need to download a current model to review it. You need to install Navisworks to view it. So sometimes it's much easier to share access through the cloud and let people go and see what's going on there and what has changed.
And at the same time, thanks to Assemble, we actually have 2 versions of the project up.
We received several Revit models as progress models as design was evolving and changing. We had certain freeze dates for the estimation team because they can't make an estimate for changing something. They need some freeze dates.
We need to set the goal so that they can get to it, as opposed to constantly resetting the goalpost.
Right. So one project is specifically for the estimators to make sure they're using the correct information as those benchmarks. And the second model is for the site team with the latest information that is available, that is not necessarily accounted for in the estimate.
That's very easy. I mean, they're both on Assemble. Alena can access both of them. She can make sure everything's fine with either one. And she can make sure only people who, we don't want to cause confusion, so the estimating team has access to just the frozen model versus the trades and other project members who have access to the actual constantly changing progress model.
So real quick, I want to weigh in here, or actually jump in, and you guys are talking about importing Revit and use of Plant 3D and IFC models and some other things. But we are, just so those of you on the line are aware, we are currently working on import of Plant 3D. We are also looking at having an import from Navisworks soon as well. And then after that, we're looking at some other plant space formats, S3D and PDS. So if you guys are interested in that, please let us know in the chat or the questions, and we can follow up later.
I'll tell you right now, I'm very interested in both of those things.
You bet. I know you are.
Well, looking forward to that, because there are many features that are coming up lately, and we love them all. Keep bringing them.
I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a big fan.
Well, I appreciate it, because I'm a big fan too, and I love what we're trying to do together through you guys pushing and us working alongside.
It helps a lot that a lot of the things you're rolling out are things we can immediately apply, so to speak. It's not something like, oh, that's cool, but how can we use it? It's literally, oh, that's cool, and this is how I use it.
Yeah, and it's something that we'll be asking for. Thank you for listening, by the way. Yeah. So this is a quick example of IFC import. So this is a sample of a structural model that I import to Revit, assign some parameters. You can see highlighted installation status, for example, and area of the building as per work breakdown structure, or up to the team, depending on what works best. But essentially, we can add any parameters in Revit and push it back to Assemble and use that information in any other software. And I think from here, we're getting to the most interesting part of our presentation, to the demonstration. Since I'm trying to push that information from IFC model to the cloud, I have to do some cheating, so sad. So this is my sample of design model, and this is a sample of my IFC model. It's actually linked to the project right now, but I can show you that I previously set up my additional parameters that I need for construction in the model. So it works great in that sense. But what many IFC models are lacking is sheets. I found a workaround that. So, for example, I have my reference framing plan that has design model that would be brought into Assemble. And what I do here, and I previously set it up so we don't spend too much time here, I create a duplicate for IFC file. And I play with some settings here. And essentially, I have the same sheet that I had from the design model, but I actually have my IFC model there. And if I carry them all together as they are, one with the design model, the second one with the IFC trade model, it makes it very easy to compare these models in Assemble, especially for the site team who are trying to verify if they received correct trade model, and they help a lot to find some missing elements in that sense, and address many questions. So I'll show how I do that, because I think it's pretty cool. I have some bonus tools here. I actually copy my sheets in bulk, and I'm not going to do it right now because it takes some time, but essentially I select all those drawings that I need to copy, and I say copy, and then after it's complete, I have all the views duplicated. They're not dependent, so I can actually set up different templates for the views and rename them in bulk to have them as different, showing that one is IFC or something different. So when I go to Assemble, I essentially have all my sheets with both models on them, and I can view whichever works better in that situation. So I found that hugely helpful. And this is a sample for structural, but I'm measuring how much easier it makes tracking for piping, because it's being updated quite a lot, and it's easier for me to just link design model to my markup file, and I can always create updates and see what's going on.
I do want to just quickly say, I think we have a couple of questions already coming in about, you mentioned your bonus tools. Do you want to give a shout out and kind of point people in the direction of finding or using those add-ins for Revit?
Yeah, sure. They're called Kiwi bonus tools. Yep. And it has about 100 of tools, and it has all the amazing things for working with sheets in bulk and all sorts of duplication and alignment, and I love it. Just,
yeah, it's great. And I'll point you to the website if you want to go and check that out. It's kiwicodes.com.
Fantastic tool, highly recommended. Helps to manage.
Helps automate Revit where
Yes.
it needs to be automated.
Yeah, without going into Dynamo and without going into some advanced geekery.
Not that there's anything wrong with advanced geekery.
No, of course not. But it just takes time to do those things, and
Right.
you know, there is always somebody who had done it before. So
Yeah, leveraging any shortcuts that you can make yeah, any sort of time savings in this case is always a benefit.
as an example, I have my IFC model loaded, and I have my IFC drawing open. But if I want to go jump back and look at my design model, that's in there too. And I think it's great, really, especially with a new sectioning tool. Planes that you can see on the model, that's actually my zoning that helps me to identify what is where, just schedule-wise. So yeah, new sectioning works great. Just get in the floor that you need to review. You have design model, you have IFC model, and works great.
I do want to point out, just for those of you unaware of the drawing capability within Assemble, the 2D is connected directly to the 3D. So if you select components in 3D space, they're going to select in 2D space and vice versa. You have to have the, yeah, there you go, you've got that selected now. So you can select in the inventory and the 3D space or in the 2D space and then zoom right into the particular components that are selected. Additionally, if you have not selected your sheet and you select a component in 3D, you can navigate to the selected objects where in the sheets that they belong on.
And yeah, the estimators team love this feature, because whenever they can't understand what are they seeing in the on PDFs or on the sheets, they actually can go to the model and find it out where it is, and it's highlighted, and it's very easy.
So
yeah, this is definitely one of the most popular features, to be honest.
Absolutely, and you right now you have the 3D model on and the inventory turned off, but you could even work with just the inventory and the 2D and give you that same context and that connection. So it does provide that capability to work in a flexible manner.
I'll move to my second recent favorite that I've been doing, and I'll open my equipment logistics plan. So as I mentioned, there is a lot of equipment jammed into the building, and usually equipment logistics and delivery and all those issues are a side team issue. But in this case, we have a separate team managing process. So they're helping out with understanding what are those items that are getting into the model and getting into the building, and how they're going to be delivered, when are they going to be delivered. And what we did here is essentially I have some samples of equipment, some groups, maybe some skids or fume hoods. So equipment changes as the design progresses. So what I did is I created placeholders for my equipment, and in the family itself I create some parameters with description, identity, number of the equipment, information regarding delivery and rigging and installation. Actually, shipping weight is one of the important elements. The thing here is it's really hard for process team to use Revit or P6 or other advanced tools. So they need to manage this information somehow easier. What I do here, I create a layout with equipment for the process team where I label everything. I add all the information, I populate the information according to what they need. Then they just can go to the assemble. We'll wait a moment while it's loading. And yeah, here we go. I select my equipment, I go to properties, and here it all is. Equipment description, any information regarding delivery or any comments that process team needs to add can be easily updated here and can be exported to all other software that we're using. And this is a fantastic tool to me because I don't need to sit with the process team to update this information. I just get an export from Excel export from Assemble, or I push it directly to Revit from the cloud. And this is actually my recent favorite because there is so much equipment there. So yeah, that definitely saves lots of time.
How are you liking the synchronize feature? Like normally, you know, I just use the publish, but bringing it back in, it works out just fine.
So far, so good. I personally like to have an export as well, just to actually see it, because having data in the model in Revit is one thing, but actually having a schedule is a different thing. So far it works great. Let's see if we can break it. We'll be working hard on it.
Sorry, just to add about the sync capability you guys are talking about. For those that are unaware, with Assemble you have the ability to push from Revit as well as pull information that you've edited within Assemble or in Excel and pull that back into your model. So those properties Alena was showing that they're editing within Assemble, you have the ability to bring that information back into Assemble, either across the entire model or across a subset of the model or across a subset of the properties. So you have some flexibility on how you bring that information back into the authoring file.
Is my turn now?
Yes.
Am I going to jump to my favorite thing?
Yes.
My favorite thing of the week?
Do you want to go to mechanical? Simple?
Alena uses an ergonomic mouse.
No, it's actually a trackball. It's not a mouse.
Ergonomic trackball.
So, you know, to all the people on the call, if you want to protect your computer from other people using it, you don't need a password. You need a trackball.
We should search for this trackball so everyone knows what we're talking about. So one thing that I used to get complaints on with Assemble is, oh, you have to wait for it to load. Every time I click something, you know, I click on this thing and I click change visibility, hide. I have to wait for the whole thing to reload. But there's actually a quicker way. So you can actually click and you hit the Q button on your keyboard and you've got a temporary hide, kind of like a temporary hide in Revit. So I can click this, temporary hide. I can multi-select, temporary hide. And now if you actually want to make this permanent, Alena actually did it the other way, which is also nice. So you can actually select. Oh, see, this is Alena's evil mouse. I'm calling it mouse.
You said waiting for it to quick hide, and I think you just hit the wrong button. So maybe your keyboard challenged as well.
Why are you on her side? So essentially, by selecting. What I've selected is what's still visible, not what's hidden. So if I just hide others now, then the quick hide becomes permanent.
Yeah, and just to clarify, what he means by permanent is that quick hide is only working within the 3D viewer. Your inventory doesn't update, the rule set doesn't update, that's all still there. When you make it, what he's saying permanent is you're actually updating your instance set or your visibility settings. So that then reflects the rest of the, within the rest of the product, where we're changing what's available in the model tree or in the inventory. And so the idea here, and he said it's his favorite feature of the week, it's actually one of the things that I've heard a lot of requests about, where you need to quickly isolate some things in the model to condition or change that data. And so we wanted to make it really quick and easy, and so we added that quick hide feature so you can drill down right to what you want to see.
Yeah, so it's great. And there's a flip side, which is what Alena showed me, is, okay, so I hit a bunch of stuff. And you notice it doesn't update here. So hiding it in the view does not update. But once you make it permanent, then that's when the tables start to update. So this, now let's say this is me again. So let's say I only selected things I wanted to keep. So what I want to keep is under the quick hide. So I select everything else, I change my visibility, and I hide what's still visible. Once that happens, everything I had quick hidden is now the only thing left on the screen. And because I made it quote unquote permanent, this is also updated to only match what's visible on the screen. So I really like that feature. And then, you know, so it's always fun to use the explode feature and make things go boom.
That's great. So, and by the way, on that explode, if you select an object, if you collapse the explode down, this is something I'm going to kind of show you really quickly. Select an object, and if you explode, it's going to explode out from the object that's selected. So making a center point on the object, it makes it really nice to run through corridors and tight things that if you want to move things away from pipes or things that you're looking in that tight space, it's going to push out from that object that's selected.
Oh,
a little bit of a feature review
cool here. I think I just found next week's favorite feature.
Yeah, gamify the job, right?
Shh, don't tell everyone all I do is play video games all day.
Well, I've heard that opinion from trades actually that we're playing video games. I think hard to argue.
They're just jealous we figured out how to do it and get paid.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes, so 1 and 2 were Alena's, and number 3 was clearly my flamboyant shortcut extravaganza. Then I guess 4 we can add the explode feature. So that was the Easter egg on this list.
That's right. So to quickly run through this really fast and to recap the demonstration, you kept talking about IFC, and I just want you to clarify and explain to those not familiar what you're going through in that process and what IFC means for your project.
Okay, so IFC is a different format. And essentially, pretty much any steel guy, they're probably working in Tekla, and they're going to output IFC files. You have to figure out how to work with them. The nice thing about Revit and IFC is if you can get the IFC into Revit, then you can synchronize it up to Assemble. And then, Alena, you could talk a little bit more about how you created duplicate sheets. One sheet contained the design drawings, and the other sheet contained, very similar to the design drawings, but actually showed the IFC steel in the same visual format as the IFC drawings.
Yeah, because typically those trade models that come to us in IFC format, they come as a model itself. It doesn't have any 2D sheet set up with the model.
That's right.
And shop drawings are great, but they usually are...
they're very detailed. They're literally cut sheets.
Yes, they're cut sheets. There is a lot of information, and sometimes it takes some effort to compare design and IFC model. And having the same layout helps a lot to people who are familiar with design model, who worked with it for a while. It does save some time.
Yeah, so it's comparing apples to apples instead of apples to pieces of oranges.
That's right. And I mean, I just wanted to make sure we clarified here. It went kind of fast, and it might be a little hard to understand, but what she's doing is using the format of the Revit sheets that are there and replacing the components from the model objects in Revit with the ones coming from Tekla. And for what it's worth, just really quick, you know, Tekla, as you guys mentioned, has a fantastic IFC export. Their data and their geometry is organized really well and is consumed into Revit very nicely. I will say that as part of our roadmap, we are going to support a direct import from Tekla. So you'll have very soon the ability to, and this is with Trimble in general, but the ability to consume data from both Tekla and from SketchUp too. So that's just another quick point to let you guys know. But this process, though, I think is fantastic because you're able to give new context or new model components in the same format that people are already used to seeing. And that organization structure is already there, and you're just recycling it. I love it.
Hey, Tim, out of curiosity, do you have like a Twitter feed or something I can just follow you on? Because you keep dropping these bombs.
Yeah, we do. So Assemble, we do have a Twitter feed, and we do put out some of our Easter eggs every now and again. But you can certainly follow Assemble Systems on Twitter or LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do that.
Perfect.
Next was equipment logistics. Again, Alena, you created, I guess you could call them masks that sat on top of the equipment that contained the additional information that are equipment control guides.
Right. Because for logistics and site delivery coordination, the team does not really need all the details and all the small information about the actual equipment. They just need to know how large is the box it comes in and how heavy the box is. And also I wanted to give the team ability to see how big it is, does it fit where they want to bring it, and ability to update some information without setting up a meeting with a BIM specialist or with a scheduler. So they can work on it on their own and then send the information over for us to reuse it.
And then, yeah, exactly. Or, they can just access it straight in Assemble itself.
Right.
Do the update, and then you can synchronize it right back. Mm-hmm. And then the keyboard shortcuts, there's more. You can actually figure it out yourself in the interface, but the Q key, solves a significant, what I would classify previously as a negative, which was, you constantly have to wait for the view to update every time you do something. So that letter Q keyboard shortcut really lets you narrow down the 3 that you see before you click, apply, before you apply what you've been working on and then wait for it to reload, which is something you have to do in any desktop software anyways.
Yeah, and that's our underlying architecture really enables that that streaming or that the model is not pushing out to our query engine and then the application responding. It's circumventing all of that and ultimately it's just streaming geometry as you make those requests directly. So we certainly want to enhance that further, but I think you hit the highlights on what we're doing there. And with that said, I think that kind of wraps up our overview.
Very happy that we partnered with Assemble. Very happy to date and very excited about what's coming down the pipe and looking forward to a profitable future.
Thank you very much for listening to what we actually need and what features we're looking for.